Hello. It seems to be working. Can you hear me right? Awesome. So I want to apologize upfront. This is not something that's inside my comfort zone, but I felt like doing a live Q&A would be better because I heard jokes about me being an AI and similar. So I was hoping this would help to clear things out and make sure you know that if I'm AI, I'm also a robot. And I think we can start. Subtitles allowed. I don't know. Exactly what an AI would say. So, how this is going to work, I probably won't be able to read all your chat comments, but the center will be preparing questions for me from the chat. So, he was going to pick a few and I'm going to answer them in the order I like. And there are already some. Perfect. So, first one, Screwed Industries. Why does second realm exist at all? So the idea was to allow new players or players who joined after we started sim companies to experience the progression going through different industries. Which those of you who have been with us for a few years would know that there's real excitement when the new industry is being added. Also, a lot of players who started later felt like they cannot catch up with the top players. So that also a good thing to start anew. And I took this opportunity to also try to rebalance things because nerfing industries didn't seem so popular in the past. So I felt with the new realm, I'll have the opportunity to try to balance it better. So you can see the cars being a little bit less profitable in entrepreneurs than they are in magnates. And the aerospace also took a certain hit, and we'll see how that works out. Ideally, I would like to have all those industries competing with each other rather than having just aerospace and restaurants being the top. Second question from the same player, Shrewd Industries. Why not use game chat sometimes? Maybe show up once in a while. I'm trying. I'm trying to do it more lately, but I'm afraid because I get to work. I have 2 3 hours. I need to fix certain issues, and when I go to game chat, I usually get tons of questions which I should reply to, and I end up spending all my productive time doing that, which is good to talk to you, but at the same time, I'm not able to fix bugs or work on new features. So I'm trying to balance it, and I'm hoping this Q&A will help with that as well. What is the future of sim companies? I wish I knew. We addressed a lot of technological debt issues, meaning that there was work that we were postponing and had to be done so we can move forward. Like removing blockchain features was part of that, and we are also streamlining the code and making sure that we can add new features more efficiently. So we're kind of halfway through that, or maybe 3 quarters, which means that we are now in good position to add a new feature. And I'm looking into the future contracts, which we renamed to the long-term contracts or the building auctions. So I guess there are questions about it later on. If not, I'll definitely mention details about that. So that's the future of sim companies. We'll be adding more features. Another question from Shrewd Industries. Can you describe once more how you started development of sim companies and what did you not know when you started? So the whole story is that I played a similar game when I was younger, like in the late 90s. And I like the I like the whole idea of being able to uh, play a businessman to decide what to produce. And what happened was I went to that page, I found that game, and I realized they did not change anything in like 20 years. And that was really disappointing. The interface was old, and the game was, I mean, it was kind of the same, but it felt old at the same time. And since I was a website developer, or how to call it, software engineer, I thought that I could make a game like that, and it should be relatively easy, which it wasn't. But that was the start. I wanted to play a game like this, but I couldn't find one. So that's how I started, and I was learning on the fly. Like I didn't know anything about game development, and a lot of the things were new for me, and also running my own business. So there was a lot of things that I didn't know. Probably, if there was one thing I had to choose that I wish I knew sooner, was to put it on Play Store as soon as possible, because that's when sim companies really got traction, and we got a lot of players and large community. And that was the point, I think, when I could leave my job and do this full time. And I could have done that maybe 1 or 2 years earlier. That would have been better. But we're learning, and I'm sure there are tons of other things I could have done, and I still don't know what they are. Why does the role play channel exist? Another question from Shrewd Industries. I honestly not sure. Players wanted it, and they were using social channel for this purpose, which people who like to socialize in the social channel did not like. So we decided to add one. And I don't know, honestly, I wouldn't use the social channel myself. Sorry, the not the social channel, but the role play channel. And I'm not even sure how often it is being used, but it is used, and players who like role playing do hang out there. So it serves its purpose, and I guess you need to ask them. So, a question from Eruador. What happens if the entrepreneur realm reached the last phase of restaurant? Is there anything else after that planned? Well, that's a good question. There probably won't be difference between the two realms. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure myself. I mean, we were discussing this with another developer, with Coronis, moments ago, and basically, uh, the right now there is difference whether you want to play in an economy that doesn't have all the industries and you want to experience the progression, or you want to play a realm where everything is. But once they're on the same level, the only difference would be really whether you want to manage one company or two. But otherwise, it would be the same. So we're gonna have to make a decision what to do next. But we'll see. I guess we'll see. We'll leave it up to players. We'll see which one's more popular, which one has more balanced economy, and we'll probably start decommissioning one of them. But that's in the future. I don't know. I don't know yet. It's all open. Another question for Eruador. In the last Q&A, you said there are no plans for new branches, but to expand into existing one. Is there anything new? I guess this is a question about new industries. So I keep getting this question, and it seems to be the on everybody's mind. There are a few things. Uh, Basically, first of all, I don't think that having more variants makes a better game. Like, imagine instead of only apples and oranges, we would have 10 more fruits, but all of them would be made of water, and there would be no difference between them, just the image and the price. Sorry, the image and the name. So this way, you would feel like you have variants, but it would be still the same thing. And I don't think this makes a better game to just create tons of resources for the sake of having tons of resources. So what I try to do with each industry, I try to make it different. With aerospace, we have different retailing. With restaurants, we have and also different retailing. between the fruits and the cars, the pipelines are different and more complex. So this is where I'm trying to add variance that you as a player can explore the new industry and have different playing experience. And this is not easy to add. I mean, people suggest, okay, just add, I don't know, marine industry, but I also need to find a way how to make it different. And this is not easy. But what we have on the forum, one of the players made a marine industry, and he was able to, he or she, I'm not sure actually, was able to suggest very good ways to make it different. And I would love to add it. And at some point, I think we should. Another point about having multiple resources is that our interface in sim companies was not originally designed for so many resources. And you can see it in the in the exchange. Basically, at the very beginning, we had like 7 resources, and it was fine to have them on top and have the orders below, and you could see both the menu and the orders at the same time and click. But right now, you need to scroll up and down. There's like 120 resources you need to go through. There are no names visible, so you need to know the images, and it's getting difficult to use. And if we throw another 70 on top of that, it would just make it, well, I'm not going to say how players like to exaggerate in reviews, like literally unplayable, but it would be difficult. So at this point, we need to address some of these issues. We need to make a new exchange redesign, which is almost ready, and we need to do the same for encyclopedia. And once these things are addressed and we can comfortably move within hundreds of resources, we can look into adding another industry. Okay, another question from Quantum. Is there any plans for development of either new realm or addition to existing industries in R1? Uh, yeah, well, I think I answered most of this. New realm, there are options. We can do what we did already and just do another entrepreneurs. We can do something different. There were suggestions to make a realm that resets every 6 months, sort of like a speed run realm or something like that. So that's an option. There is an option to do a premium realm where you wouldn't be able to buy sim boosts, but it would be monetized on a subscription basis. This would kind of do a realm where there's a leveled playing field where nobody has more sim boosts than others. That could be interesting. So I don't know yet. There are multiple options we need to explore. The question from Ryan Andrews: will new products be introduced? Cakes, sunglasses, car charging stations, and so on. No need for new resources. Existing resources, new items every few months would keep it fresh. All right. This was suggested also that we would have resources, more seasonal resources, like we have Xmas crackers, that we would have something different every few months. I think this is a great idea. I think this would change things a little bit. You would need to adjust, maybe rebuild something, and maybe this is something we could introduce with marine industry, that certain things could be retailed only in the season or fished out only in the season, and that would help keeping the game fresh, I believe. Question from Miguel Duitana. I'm sorry for murdering some of the names. I really don't know how to pronounce some of them. They should add a way to invest in companies like stock and also more industries without companies. Yeah, they should add something, really. Um, so the stock was difficult to add for me. And basically, I was looking at it from multiple sides. Normally, what companies do, they use stock to raise money. We already have bonds that serve this purpose. You can issue bonds, and somebody usually buys them. So raising money is not motivation for us. So players usually want the stock market because they want to make money, which makes sense. And however, our companies, instant companies, are only going up usually. So if we had the share price based of the company value, you would be guaranteed to make money on the stock market. So that would be like a money machine. It would be a huge inflation in the game, and you could just invest in a bunch of companies. 9 of them would grow, and you would make money. And that's not a good gameplay. That would be just easy and boring. So this is if the share price was algorithmically derived of your company. If we had it market derived, like player buy sell, like supply demand, then it would be basically a way to funnel money between companies, basically to easily move money there and back, which also is not something we want. And it would be basically pure speculation. In order for you to make money, somebody would have to lose money, like a zero sum game, which is also it doesn't fit within our game design. And then I'm not sure what other options there are. What I came up with was that there would be money you have as a company, and then money you have as an investor, as like a private person. That it would be a different economy. So you could manage your company, but then you would be also able to manage your own money, and you could invest in companies and get rich. But you wouldn't be able to use this money in normal sim companies economy. If it makes sense, it would be like separate. And that was the only way I could find this working. And when I proposed that maybe 2 years ago, players I showed it to were like confused. So, am I managing my money? Am I managing the company money? Like, why is this different? And what I'm trying to say, it wasn't met with a lot of love. So I decided to drop it and do something different instead. So that's with the stock market. And if you can find a way how to make this work, then you can send me a message. But so far, nobody really thought this through who was asking me about it. Okay, then Cash43 asked, will we ever have a school sector to sell books, notebook, pens, etc.? Maybe it's a new industry. If we can find a way to make it different and interesting, and sure. Sir Flamelodla asked, "Will we have a travel industry in the future?" I don't know. Possibly. Sony Production asked, "Recently, sim companies has been losing players, around 5 to 6,000 players. Are you worried about the loss in players?" Right. So this is really worrying, and it's not that we are losing players who are playing. I'm looking at the numbers, and the average play time is growing, and the second realm helped a lot. So players are staying in the game longer. The problem is that we're not getting new players. And around this time last year, we were getting about 5,000 registrations a day from Google Play. And that dropped rapidly. We are getting 400 registrations a day from Google Play. We're still at the top for business simulation games keywords. We have better rating than last year. And why Google is sending us less players, it's black magic for me. And I'm worried about it because we have less revenue, obviously, and it's more difficult to do what we used to be able to do. However, it seems like this is something happening in the industry as a whole. I was visiting, like we have Game Beers here in Prague, and was talking to other developers. And one studio that develops mobile games, I'm not going to mention them, that they went bankrupt because there is less players looking for games, and even when they find them, they're not spending that much money. And whether the reason is the economy situation or something else, people can only guess. But it seems like the COVID years were really good for game industry, and now it's sort of reversing. and probably it's not even fair to compare COVID years with anything else. But it's true that we're getting less registrations, and so far we can manage. And this is why I'm trying to rather um, work on features that would make the game interesting for longer, and for you, our loyal players, to make the game enjoyable for a longer time. We're also this is another thing, we're trying to get the game integrated on Steam, so we would add another acquisition channel and maybe get registrations through that. Uh, Whether that's gonna be 10 a day or 300 a day, nobody knows, and we won't be able to influence it much. Okay. So yeah, in short, I'm not happy that we have overall less players than we used to, but it's not something I will be able to impact, basically. Sir Flamelord asked, what have you learned that you can apply to real life by creating sim companies? Hmm, this is difficult one. I'll have to think about this. Um, One thing I guess is that whether you're doing game design or your blog or anything, or even selling products, I realize that people do care a lot about who you are, why you're doing it, and who's selling it than the product itself. Well, I wouldn't say more about the seller than the product, but they definitely care more about the person behind the project than I thought they do. So this is something I guess, can be applied in any business, that you want to explain why you're doing things you're doing, rather than just tell them this is a product, this is what it do. There's a TED talk about it somewhere. So that's, I guess, one thing that comes to mind. Question number 15 from Cash43. PC players have a great advantage because they have the possibility of placing windows one on top of the other. Will we have the possibility of having an integrated calculator on mobile? I don't know. I have a calculator on mobile. I mean, you need to switch an app, but even if we build it in game, you still wouldn't be able to see the game and the calculator at the same time. So I guess we could add calculator in the game, but it feels like unnecessary work because you already have much better calculator options in the phone. If not, if there is no calculator up in the stores, let me know. I'll definitely gonna build one and make money on it. It sounds like something that should be there. Um, Question from Chato Organ. I definitely murdered his name. Is being dev CEO of sim companies your prime job? You make living on this game, or you got other responsibilities, jobs? So I started building this game as a hobby project, and at that time it was my part-time, free-time thing. But since like 2 or 3 years ago, it's my primary job. It's what pays the bills, and we also have two other developers, and we also have one graphics designer now. So thank all of you, really, for helping me get here, for basically being part of this project and the game. And it's only possible because you're buying SimBoost and supporting us. So I'm glad that we're in this stage, and I'll do my best uh, to keep this project going and make sure that you're getting your money's worth. So, question from the same player, Jato Organ, or Jarn, I don't know. Do you have any plans, strategy to stop players from quitting a game and bring new ones? Right. I touched this a little bit. I'm looking into adding more acquisition channels like the Steam, which I'm hoping would help us. At the beginning of the year, we added the game to the Microsoft Store, which is bringing like 3 registrations a day. So I'm not sure whether it was actually worth the effort, but you don't know until you try. There is a possibility of going into Huawei Store, um, Samsung Store. I don't know whether that's worth the energy or not. How to make sure the players are not quitting? As I said, we have good numbers here. It's not like we broke the game and players are leaving, but I know that adding new industries and adding new content is the best way to keep the game interesting. At the same time, it's the most expensive way. So we'll see. I mean, we want to deliver the building auctions and long-term contracts because we promised that, and we'll see where we go from there. Another question: how much dev works for sim companies? There are many critical voices about speed of implementation of updates. Any plans of extending the crew to make things go faster? Right. So yeah, we need to balance whether we do bug fixing, new features, or we do integrations with more stores. So this is not easy, and we are doing our best. But I can understand why people are disappointing a little bit. And it's true that last 6 months we were going through technological debt, which nobody really sees, but it was necessary to do. So I'm hoping will increase the speed of implementation. As for hiring more engineers, since the revenue is going down, this is not really something that's possible. I'm actually looking into cost cutting, not on the personnel, but on the services, which also requires engineering time. So each time we stop paying for service that we can implement ourselves, we save some money, but at the same time, it costs engineering. So not really. Ricardo Antonio asked, why have we seen that the economic phases have been synchronized in both realms, and why in both there is a recession? Right. We were looking into this few days back, and they're random. It just happened, and with random numbers, they sometimes go in sync. So there's no magic there. And why they're both in recessions, I don't know. I don't know why there's recession in the real world even. Sir Flamelot asked, why did you make moderators a part of the game? Um, I'm not sure what this really means, like whether why the moderators exist at all, or why moderators can be players. I'm really glad we have moderators because they're all volunteers, and it helps the chats being clean, and it helps the community to be what it is. At the very beginning, I tried experimenting with things like if 3 players flag something, then it gets banned and things like that, and it really did not work. And I'm glad that we have a good moderating team, and a lot of people are complimenting them, me including. And we also get in the reviews, a lot of people are praising the community, and I think moderators have part should be praised for that. So thank you for the question, and thank you for moderating. Lucas Xavier asked, "Hello, Patrick. I would like to know, what do you think about the jumbos? Were they made to balance the sales office, or was it a mistake that it didn't make profit normally?" Okay, guess I would need to know a little bit more background here. So are jumbos something that's not profitable to sell? I guess the question implies that. Basically, all of the resources and products in the game, I model with like a simple algorithm that looks how expensive it's to produce them with certain administration overhead, how much the buildings cost that are in the pipeline, and look at these numbers, sum it all together, and come up with how much the product should be worth. And that's what we use in the retailing. And this formula is the same for every product. So it's not like I pick the retail number for each product specifically. It comes out of this algorithm, and it might be that due to the pipeline that's involved for jumbos, it just works worse somehow, but it wasn't an intention. And I don't know. I guess it makes the aerospace more interesting that you have products that are not easy to sell. Why not buy orders on the exchange? There are only sell orders, as we all know. Okay, that's a question from Shrewd Industries, and it's a good one. Originally, the game I used to play had only buy orders, and I worked in finance before. I was involved with sim companies, so I understand how normal how normal commodity exchange looks like and what are the sell orders. However, to fit it all on phone is a little bit difficult, and it's also confusing for new players who are not familiar with the exchange. So I kept this design. It's easy to understand. It's easy to use. If we had both sides of the book, it would look more cluttered and maybe not as good or as easy to use. But we'll see. This is not something that I'm completely opposed to, but this seems to be working. However, I have to say I get this question at least once every week. So this is something that I'm sure there's a lot of interest in. So a question from Ecuador. What about a new building which works like a restaurant, but it is a store where you can buy all stuff from the older branches? Underwear, jewelry, electronics, it would boost all older branches. So, as I understand this, this would be a place where you can retail where you can retail stuff and you would get sales orders across the branches, across different industries. Okay. I don't know honestly. It might add a bit of a variance. Also, what might happen, and I'm not sure. I mean, I would need to do some simulations and do some number crunching. But if basically this store would be a better way of retailing than our current way, then all the players would use the better one, and the other one would be not used, and it would also serve as a trap for beginners. So there's also not a good way of having variability into the game. I mean, everything that we have here should have its purpose and it should be useful. I mean, one way of looking at it could be that one way would be more profitable for smaller companies and the other one would be profitable for bigger companies. I mean, that way I could see purpose. Otherwise, I wouldn't do two different ways of retailing the same thing because, as I said, like one of them would be the good one and the other one would be a useless trap. Um, Question from Zero Flame a lot. How have you learned from the what? How have you learned from players in sim companies? Okay, I'm gonna take a guess that this was supposed to be what have you learned from players in sim companies? Honestly, a lot. Players are perfect at pinpointing problems and finding exploits really quickly. So, yeah, a lot of the times I have an idea. Sometimes I ask up front, and the players already point out why that it's a crappy idea of mine, or in the worst case, I deploy it and find out afterwards. But yes, there was the aerospace was really imbalanced at the beginning. Then we had a lot of exploits in the quests that PA sends, and players were able to pinpoint this. And then also, this is stupid, but the spelling mistakes, uh, yeah, I get those pointed out a lot all the time. A question from from Alexander Voigtlander. Shouldn't the probability from boom or recession to normal be higher than from normal to boom or a recession? From boom or recession. Right, that it quickly goes back. Um, I don't know. I mean, what I did, I just came up with random probabilities I thought would be good, and then I ran few simulations and looked how long the booms and recessions are taking and how it looks like. And I kept tweeting it till I was happy. I like the idea that the recessions and booms are not always the same length because it adds variability. But whether one should be higher than the other, I'm not sure. Maybe PM me later and provide some explanation. Like maybe this should happen more often because it would help the game in this way or something like that. Question from Shrewd Industries. How do you address cheating in the game? Do you have a statistics of the cheating player AI? How many do you ban a month? Are they unbanned later on? Right. So we're only banning for misbehaving in the chats because we kind of the ban is less of a punishment but more of a like a slap on the wrist. Like people like to basically play and push the boundaries and see where the line is. When the line is crossed, we don't want to like really punish the player, but more of a mm, sort of show him that okay, this went too far. Please be more careful next time. And there is always the hope that they're gonna change the behavior and they're gonna be happy players. Whereas with cheating, it's a little bit different because once you cheated, you already got advantage against other players. And just telling you, okay, you crossed the line, don't do it in the future, means that they already are upfront and they cheated the system and they cheated those that, for example, did not create multiple accounts. Or maybe I should say that by cheating, um, there could be multiple ways of cheating, like finding exploits in the game, which we probably, I mean, we haven't had one for a long time. But our usual cheater, what he does, he creates multiple accounts. And since this is a game and not real life, we usually throw a lot of money on new accounts so you can get started. There are achievements that really pay well. So the obvious way of cheating is just creating multiple new companies and then moving the money around towards your, how we call it, main account. So what we do is we have the FPA, the Fair Play Association, which is a fancy name for algorithm that scans all the traits and other things we can detect about the player behavior, how often he plays, what devices he logs on, and even stupid things like what email is being used. And I shouldn't say too much, but we basically follow both money flows and we also follow other indicators like IP address we can get our hands on. And we check whether we think this player is running multiple accounts. And if this happens, we do not ban, we delete. So the difference is banned would mean that you're temporarily suspended and you can play later. Delete is that we basically get rid of the account. And basically, the reason is that the player got an advantage, and there's no other fair way towards other players to deal with this situation. So the player obviously can create a new account and play again. We cannot stop him, and we're happy if he decides to do that. But I have no way of knowing whether that happened or not. So, question for and how often this happens? I mean, we usually delete maybe 3 or 5 accounts a week. So I wouldn't say it's a lot. I think this happens in games that players. There are always people who would try to game the system, and we have PA informing players that they shouldn't do it, but it happens. Question from Sir Flame a lot. How have moderators and other good players enhanced the game? Well, Definitely, in a lot of ways, the moderators are keeping our community healthy, and there are there are players who are really good in economics. Like there's one particular player who's also a business teacher on a university, and he helped me to put together the balance sheet and income statement and all that because he understood both the game and both what these things mean in the real world and helped me to map those together. So that was extremely helpful. And this is just one example. This happens a lot. So we have really clever players who know business that are able to give the feedback, and we are able to improve the game a lot. So question from Timo Mimo 1994. Any plans of adding optional ads to the game? Player could earn some sim boots and you would earn some money. Right. So the problem with ads is that even when you make it optional, let's say you have an option to watch a ad video once a day. If you don't, you would feel like you're losing against the other players who are watching the ads. So basically, what I'm afraid would happen, everybody would feel like they're forced to watch the ads, and everybody would be watching the ads. So there would be no benefit for those who do as everybody would be doing it. Sorry. At the same time, I do not like ads, and this is basically from perspective of me being a user. It's not something I like, but also from a business perspective, from what I learned and heard at the game conferences, strategy games usually do not monetize through ads. Because if you think about it, this is a game that you play for 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 year, and it's questionable whether it would be helpful to be showing you different games daily. Whereas if you were a game like a hyper casual game like Jewel Quest or I don't know, Angry Birds, which the usual playtime is 2 or 3 hours, then it makes sense to show you ads for other games all the time because you're gonna bounce anyway. So yeah, and the other thing is the ads, you don't really get that much money of it. Like again, if we were a game like Angry Birds, where you have millions and millions of downloads, then if you get 1 cent per player, it starts to amount to something. But with our player base, it's a lot of engineering work, a lot of maintenance work, and I'm not sure whether we would get much from it back. So I rather spend time on engineering game mechanics than playing with ads and tuning, like whether to show you ads 3 times a day or twice a day to make most money. I don't like the idea altogether. It's not the way I do games to be like pushing ads on you. Sorry. Timo Mimo 1994. Okay, sorry, we just covered that one. Niels, how about expanding the other time limit to 7 days and adding the ability to queue your production? Could be done in low cost subscription like $1 per month or similar. Right, I haven't heard this one. Like the queuing production is something we could do in principle, but technically it has proven to be difficult, mainly because sometimes we have server issues or any other technical issues. And if the production doesn't start, players get angry. Those who are using restaurants all knew how how it feels when the restaurant closes when it shouldn't, or when you have the launch pad and the launches do not happen. So queuing stuff and stuff being done when you're not online is a little bit difficult to implement. It's not impossible, but it's not something easy. 7 days limits, I guess. that would work. I don't know, like, how often would you play then? That's yeah, something to think about. First time I got this one, so I'm not sure how popular that would be. Question from Eruador: why is there no notification if staff training ended? That we could do, I guess, like a push notification or PA notification. Yeah, that would be helpful. I'll add it to my list. Uh, Question from Deso. Will you introduce some new items in fashion industry like space suit? that that would be interesting. Like cross. Where would we retail that? Hmm? I like when industries cross and you need buildings from different ones. Martin Gamer 0815 asked, "Hey, I noticed that we can sell those buildings in the future. I think this would also be cool for patents." Interesting. Right. Well, patents are a good way of getting money away from the game, and this is something that in real world you do not have to deal with. When companies make money, they basically give it to their shareholders. So it's not like they're stacking profits on the books and they don't know what to do with it. However, in sim companies economy, you make money. There's nowhere to dump them, and it's a problem because we had players then playing gods on the market or moving it around quickly, and it was not in the helpful way. So patents are a good way to basically suck the money out of the economy, and they never returned back, and I like that. So I think this would break that, but maybe in combination with coming out with other ways how to get rid of the cash would be good. But I don't know. I don't know why it would be cool to sell patents or buy them. Guess you could progress faster, or maybe you could more easily change industries. Something for the future. Ricardo Antonio asked, when hiring executives, is there any direct relationship between their description and their hidden talents or their effectiveness in gaining skill points? Yes, basically what we have a bunch of texts that are used when he's a skilled, he has a like CTO talent. We have a bunch of text that is used when he has a COO talent, and then we have a bunch of text that is used when they are not good for anything, which is the most common case. So yes, the text does matter. Sir Flamelot asked, would you consider bringing back auctions for collectibles but not NFTs? Right. Yes, this was a really controversial topic, and sure, we can revisit it. Basically, the collectibles are very difficult to make tradable in the game because we have the cheating. And if the cheaters start to buy, I don't know, like luxury watches or golden bars there and back for weird prices, we can say, okay, this price is not correct. 99% of the server of the game trades for 12, but you're trading for 25. That means that you're most likely cheater. But with collectibles, you cannot do this. Each collectible is unique. So if somebody pays for it 1,000 and another one pays 10, you really cannot deduce or point anything, and you can easily move money around like this. So basically, what we wanted to do, we wanted to use different economy for trading collectibles, and the algo or any cryptocurrency was great for that because if you buy for 10 algo and then sell for 1,000 algo, we don't really care. It doesn't influence the game. It doesn't give you any advantage in the game. I mean, otherwise you make money. That's fine. But this basically worked perfect for us because we could have had collectibles in the game, and it wouldn't be possible to use it for cheating. And we had that. But then we realized that there are players who don't want to use algo or don't want to use crypto or are basically not fans of these things, and we wanted to allow them to get rid of the collectible for something, and then the buyer can do the whole NFT blockchain thing. So this basically worked, and that's why we had the auction there. But since we no longer have algo and we can trade for sim boosts, and the player who doesn't want to do algo can get sim boosts, we do not really have the need for the auction anymore. And basically, all the suggestions I got, I don't know, like there were players pushing on me things like bring the auction back, but remove all the limits. And I was like, okay, I might as well just allow cheating. It was literally the same thing. So that's kind of the story of that. Right now, we basically move the trading to sim boosts. Sim boosts are already purchasable. You have no kind of motivation to move them around because you can just buy them in your main account. You do not have to have 10 accounts and buy sim boosts in each and then move them around. That doesn't make any sense. So basically, this is now solved. We do not have cheating. Sorry, we did not add another way to cheat. That would be more accurate, and it works. So I wouldn't touch it. I don't know if you can convince me why the auction would be a good idea and it wouldn't allow easy cheating. Then we can have a look again. Deso asked, after aerospace and restaurants took place in sim companies, every single player thinks that achieving those means everything in the game, which is bad for other instinct. What do you think? I agree. I mean, the aerospace and restaurants are pretty imbalanced in magnates, and it is the case that doing anything else doesn't make much sense. And ideally, how I would imagine sim companies is that when everybody starts doing one thing, the demand goes down and the profits go down, and you need to change. Ideally, I would like to have it self-balancing, and we have these mechanisms in there. However, the aerospace and restaurants are so much profitable that even these mechanisms do not make them less profitable. So I'm hoping that with the entrepreneur's realm, and you'll see whether that works or not, this would be more balanced. If not, we'll have another try. But yeah, I see this as a problem. It's just hard to fix on the running economy because if I nerf something, players come back and say, I built all these buildings and now it's not profitable. I hate you, you know. They don't say that, but some of them tend to rage quit. Handplay official asked, hello, Patrick, a question about building auctions. When it will be available? Finally, question about new features. So I still haven't decided whether we'll do building auctions first or the long-term contracts first. I think they're about the same in terms of complexity, and we just need to decide which one to implement first. If you go to the change log, there's a library in sim companies. A lot of players don't know, and you can access it through the menu. And on the top, there's a link to the change log. And at the top of the change log, there are links to two Reddit posts. One is for long-term contracts or future contracts. We called it future contracts first, but we'll probably name it long-term contracts. And there's a link for building auctions, and there you can vote. Right now, the long-term contracts are winning with 96% upvote rate, which is awesome. So we'll probably do those first unless something changes. I can't say upfront which one would be more useful or is more useful for you. I find them both extremely helpful. So we'll just have to decide, and it's something we could start working on during the summer. So I think like midsummer, end of summer, earliest would be this feature. But it's really the next on the list. It's not something that I promise and then start working on it in 2 years, which like almost never happens. And so so yeah, one or the other. Bitwise asked, oh, sorry. Before we go to another question, I want to talk about these two because I think that's interesting. So the long-term contracts would allow you to sign a deal and have a locked-in supplier or a locked-in consumer. So you wouldn't have to start playing in the morning and realize that you do not have any minerals because your supplier just stopped playing. Basically, it would allow you to have some predictability. You would get those contracts on time, and would allow you to plan ahead a little bit and basically have a fixed price. And this is good for both selling and buying. So I think it'll add uh, more fun stuff in the game, more variants, and also it would be interesting how it works together with our new events feature and the economy shifts. And the building auctions, the idea is that instead of just scrapping building, you would be able to auction it. And it, I'm hoping that this will make the barrier of changing industries a little bit lower, and it would invite players to try different industries. And basically, there will be more variability whether you want to build a building from scratch or just buy level 15 plantation on the auction. That's kind of self-explanatory, actually. Okay, Bitwise asked, can you make CTO impact launch probability in Launchpads? And can you make an option to pin some desired items in Exchange UI so those current prices we can see in main page? Right. So the new Exchange redesign actually, like we have the sections that we have agriculture, resources, aerospace, cars. We have a section called favorites. And we realized that most players only buy on the exchange like 7 or 8 resources. So those would be there, and it will really help you navigate in the exchange. So you wouldn't have to scroll through hundreds plus resources, but you would have those that you are using under your thumb, literally. And there's an option to use this for the ticker. I think this question is about the ticker, and yes, we could make the ticker list those 8. That would also make a lot of sense. Elliot Xdean asked, do you have plans to implement automation of task? Batch produce products without having to enter each building. I know APIs can be used to view data but not manage unless it's reduce play time. Right, you can actually do batch productions if you buy the supporter package. Not many players know that, but if you are a supporter, there's an option to link buildings, like you link together 5 plantations, and then whatever you do in one of them, or all 5 will do. And if you want more information how that works, we have a supporters guide in the library, and if you click there, you'll see all the features that supporters do get. So I'm sorry for that, but we had to put some of the UX UI features behind the paywall just to make sure we have funds to run the game. All right, and it seems it's 8 o'clock here p.m. And I guess we can do maybe 2 or 3 more questions. I originally wanted this live stream to take only an hour because I'm tired after the whole day. But it seems that we're still going. So I don't know. The center, if you can, maybe 3, 4 more, something that's asked a lot. I'm really looking forward to see the feedback whether this live stream was worth it. I really like this, or we'll go back to doing text only. And also, we will provide a kind of edited version of this video for watching for anybody who is not here right now, and maybe even a transcribed version so we can put it as a text. But I'm not sure. Nobody volunteered to do that yet. Okay, Sony Production asked, you should do these streams every 2 weeks. All right, well, good to know that you like it. I definitely should do it more often, and each time I do Q&A, it's just, I don't know, I feel good energy from the players, and I feel like, yes, this is fun, I should do this, and I tell to myself, I'll do next one sooner than half a year. But then that never happens because there's just too much work. And ideally, I think what needs to happen for more live streams is that we need to have something to talk about. So I really need to push out features more often. So ideally, once we have building auctions out or the long-term contracts, and there was some impact, and there'll be new, fresh ideas, it would be good to do another one. But if we do this every 2 weeks, I'm not sure what we'll be discussing because we are not developing that fast. Okay, two more questions. Shrewd Industries ask, are you disciplined in what you do? How many hours a day do you work while developing sim companies? So I guess at the very beginning, when it was a hobby project, I had a lot of elan at the beginning, and I was working after my regular hours, basically at home. And then the elan always goes away, and I was working a lot less. But it's hard to be disciplined, especially if you're working on something on your own. If you have a project that is something like that, like a passion of yours, what I really recommend is joining something like mastermind group, or you're probably not familiar with the term. I wasn't, but it's basically a group of people like you who each have their own project. They're usually similar in manner, but do not necessarily have to be. I was in a mastermind group when one guy was a painter and was trying to sell it. Another one had an e-commerce for wine, and the fourth one had a SEO agency. And basically, what we did, we met every 2 weeks, and each of us had allocated time, and they said for 5 minutes what they did in the last 2 weeks, and then they got feedback from the others for another 5 minutes what they think about it. And that really helps you to do things because you get feedback, but also you don't want to go there in 2 weeks and say that you didn't do anything new. So it sort of pushes you to iteratively work on your project, and you get feedback. And if you have questions like should I do this or that, and you give some background, people who are also working on something similar can give you good advice. So if you have a project that you're working on your own, this definitely helps a lot to keep you focused and to keep you moving forward. Otherwise, if you're alone, then it really dies quickly. And right now it's like my, I wouldn't say regular job because it's not a regular job, but right now I have enough time, and I'm really jumping between putting out fires and doing new features. So I'm not bored at all. And I usually work like regular hours, like 8 hours if my family and kids allow it, if they're not ill. Abdullah Sheikh asked, will there be a diversity of currencies in this game? This is interesting. Like, hmm, haven't thought about that. But it could add some variance to have two currencies where the exchange rate is changing. I mean, I guess players would be able to speculate. Um, but otherwise, I'm wondering whether that would be any advantage. Maybe some products would be you would be able to retail it only in certain currency and other products in different one, and then basically what's selling more, that currency would have different exchange rate. I mean, it could be a way of balancing industries. If everybody's selling cars, then the car currency would be lower in value and the whole car industry would then be lowered basically. I don't know. That's something that I find interesting. No plans right now because this is first time I'm here about it. Okay, I'm gonna answer the question from Jato or Jean or Ogar. I don't know, sorry. And then I'll go back to the center's question because I think it's a very good one for the last one. So Jato Gogarna asked, will abundance buildings also in buildings auction? Yes, definitely. We want to have mines in the building auctions, and I think those will be interesting. You could really build an industry on prospecting, I guess. I mean, build profitable business. There will be definitely some open doors with the building auctions. You could play a developer, basically. Um, and then the center asked, "Did you have fun doing this live stream compared to doing the normal Q&A session in chat?" Yes, I actually find it easier to talk. And excuse my English; it's not my first language, but this is more easy for me than to be trying to type quickly and doing mistakes. So yeah, it was fun, and I'll see the feedback from you. I'm hoping it was fun for you as well. And if this format works, then let me know, and we can do this instead of just typing. And I hope that we'll have the next one sooner than what's our usual frequency right now. Thank you very much, and see you all. If you want to, if there's a question that wasn't answered, you can always PM me in the game, and I'm hoping you have good time playing. And once again, thank you very much for support. Please buy Sync Boosts, and that keeps the lights up. And I'll promise try to fix as many bugs as possible. I think the connection issues actually, which was the most mentioned bug for like last half a year, I think we got much better on that. I was working on it this week. It's still not 100%, but I see a great improvement. And there's a question: what's my game handle? It's actually you wouldn't guess it, but it's Patrick, Patrik, in both realms. All right, and with that, I'm gonna say bye bye. Good night for those in Europe, and have a great afternoon for those in America, and good morning, I guess, for our friends from Asia. If but this time probably not so great for them. And see you in game. Bye bye.